Great. Let's go ahead and get started. How's it going, Neil?
Okay, I'm good. How are you?
I am excellent. I'm going to start by just going ahead and reviewing the family report for NWEA, just kind of doing a piece by piece walkthrough of what it means for growth, what it means for achievement, all of that stuff. And then
Okay.
also how it's tied to ACT results and what indicators it's going to give us. So let me share my screen here in a second.
Okay, and just for our listeners at home, this is Parent Academy. This is our second session for the month of February. Principal Patel is going to go over NWEA, how to read this report. Remember, we take this test 3 times throughout the year. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to him, myself, or Principal Pendleton in the middle school.
Cool. So really, NWEA test is that test, kind of like Dr. K alluded to, we're taking 3 times a year. And the whole point is this is a standardized test that is taken across the entire country. So it's a really big nationally normed test, and it helps take a clean snapshot of where our students are at any given time. The thing that makes this test really unique and way different than the standardized tests that we took when we were growing up is that it's adaptive. So for every question they get right, the next question actually gets a little bit harder, and so on and so forth. So if they're getting 10 questions in a row right, then that means the 11th question is going to be pretty hard. And the opposite happens. If they get a question wrong, it actually scales down and becomes a little bit easier. So that way, it's really zeroing in and triangulating what exactly does your student know, what are they really good at, what do they might need more support in overall. So that's what the NWEA is. And if we look down here, we have mathematics on the left, so we can kind of see this student. This is a student who's been with us for quite some time. So we've had them since the fall of 2021, and you can kind of see the progression of how they've been going forward in mathematics. So you see this line over here is the solid line is where that student scored, and the dotted line down here is where is where the national norm is. So this student is achieving pretty far and above the national norm, and they're actually in the 91st percentile. So if they are ahead of 91% of their peers, they're ahead of them. On the other side over here is growth. So that growth is how did that student perform in terms of other kids that were already at that percentile or at that RIT score. So over here, for a 246, this student went up 10 points. For somebody who's already really advanced, going up 10 points is a huge amount of growth. So we see they're in the 93rd percentile of growth. So this person already was really high achieving, and now they grew a ton. So that means they've accelerated quite a bit. However, if we go down to their reading, we actually see that they stay stagnant. So they were at 237 in the fall, and they actually stayed at a 237 in the winter. This zero growth, that means they didn't really grow at all, does not necessarily mean that it's really below average growth. You see that growth is still in the 47th percentile, so they're right in the middle. And as a parent, you shouldn't be alarmed that you don't see a ton of growth. The reason that you're seeing that, especially for your advanced students, is because when you're already super high achieving, making that additional growth is really difficult. So it puts you right in the middle. And then if you scroll down one more, same situation as above, the student grew a ton in their language usage. So that means things like grammar, things like comprehension, sentence structure, sentence syntax. They grew from a 232 all the way up to a 245. And that high amount of growth put them up in the 99th percentile for language usage. I'm going to pause here and actually circle back to the ACT stuff. If you scroll back up to the reading and the math, this is not true about language, just the reading and the math. It shows if they're on track to achieve a 24 on the ACT college readiness. So that's the measure that's a college ready test that we take in St. Louis and in Missouri. 24 is what the college board basically dictates as college ready. This student is on track to get above at least a 24, and likely they're probably going to be somewhere in the high 20s or if not 30s. So this is just at least on track to get a 24, which means that they're definitely going to be college ready. quick questions on this specific section about what the family report gives you, what information you are getting from it overall?
No, thank you very much.
All right, cool.